at testing extreme cases, you have this one notion of the expected, which is we just talked about, but like the configuration space has sort of by definition boundaries or like extreme points. And so if you look at what would happen under extreme points, you can avoid some of the challenges that arise with something like phi, where basically, yeah, okay, something that maybe wasn't expected happened. The trajectory of inputs was outside of their expectations, but like it was still possible to model and project what would happen under that scenario, right? That was not the expected scenario, but it was a possible scenario and arguably even an extreme case of a possible scenario. So when we talk about the extreme cases, they can be on, various dimensions of extreme. And in our case, we talk about, okay, well, what's the extreme case? We fail to hit the minimum raise. Cool, basically nothing happens, it reverts. We just barely pass the minimum raise and like we're right at the boundary. That gives you a certain outcome. We hit the maximum and we have a scenario where we hit the max and more people want in and they can't even get in because you've hit the cap. Like, what does that look like? There's another scenario where, either of those cases plus immediately after everyone who can rage quits. And where does that put you? And in each one of these circumstances, we're not saying that any of these things are likely, but you're characterizing how the system would behave in each of those extreme points to try to secure things, make them safer, give clear expectations. Like in the most extreme case where described by this happens, we would see a dynamic like this. So people aren't necessarily surprised. And, another maybe non-obvious aspect of this, since we're making the analogy to something like Faye, is when something's sufficiently complex, it's really dangerous to have uninformed participants. So, one of the aspects of the token engineering commons that has been held pretty fast is that it is participatory, but it is gated. And it's a little bit weird to say both of those because it's like an invitation to everyone, and the screening is more like, do I feel safe letting you participate in this? Or, I don't mean I in the sense that any one person is doing it, but more in the sense that the norms are like, look, like there's some experimentation going on here. You need to be able to participate, understand what you're doing, and you're not just aping into this thing. And that's maybe a little bit counter to what you see in a lot of crypto systems right now. Like some of the biggest successes are the ones that have had massive amounts of people ape into them and participating in them. But, here, because of the sophistication of the experimentation, there's a sort of expectation that people who are going to participate are also going to spend the time and the attention to understand what they're getting involved in and to participate in it. And so, in a sense, those extreme point experiments help flesh that out for people. They say, look, like it could be great and look like this. It could be bad and look like that. It could be great and end up being bad by accident. Something like Faye fits that category. Like it was, in almost like failure by success, right? Yeah. Because the success was so extreme that the bridge wasn't rated to hold that much weight. And you're like, oh crap, like we can't have that many trucks driving on this bridge per day. Like, even though it's an awesome bridge, it really wasn't intended to bear that weight. And, that's the kind of thing that we don't totally understand yet in crypto economics, and that groups like the Token Engineering Commons is looking to explore and improve. And so it's very much a dog fooding exercise in like, what's our decision surface, our governance surface? How do we go about evaluating it? And how do we come to consensus together about what point in this configuration space we want to be in?